Why is the United States buying Soviet scrap? Reports say it has acquired 81 Soviet-era combat aircraft from Kazakhstan. And let me tell you, all these aircraft are obsolete. They are not in usable condition, basically. So what exactly is America planning to do with them? Swing the junk towards Ukraine. Is that what is happening? You see, for several years, Kazakhstan has been gradually getting rid of its outdated fleet of Soviet-made combat aircraft. It has been replacing them with modern versions, and this includes the Russian Su-30SM multi-role aircraft. In October, the Kazakh government put up 117 Soviet-era fighter and bomber aircraft for auction, and this included MiG-31 interceptors, MiG-27 fighter bombers, MiG-29 fighters, Su-24 bombers, produced in the 1970s and 1980s. In fact, the declared value for the sale was some $2.2 million. The government had disclosed that the aircraft were not in any condition to be used. Their modernization was economically impractical, and even their use as a source for spare parts, was limited. And despite that, the US reportedly went ahead and bought 81 of the 117 aircraft. My question here is, what for? Well, the US will not say. It has not declared the reason for this purchase. But you know what? All the outdated models that the US has bought are currently in service in Ukraine. So the immediate question is it planning to send the Soviet-era scrap to Kiev? The Kiev Post has made these claims, but you see, there are two sides to this story. According to Russian state media, RT, Kazakhstan has dismissed the reports of this sale. It has cited Kazakh state defense contractor Kazpek Export for the same. Now, it's difficult to tell, sitting here, which side is actually stating the truth. But what we can tell you is that there is precedent here. This has happened before. Ukraine's Western allies have purchased and transferred a plethora of Soviet military equipment to Ukraine. In fact, most of the equipment in the Ukrainian military at the beginning of the war was Soviet era. We are talking about tanks, aircraft, artillery. When the war broke out, Poland announced it would send Soviet-designed T-72 tanks to Ukraine. It also offered to send Soviet-made MiG-29 jets. Slovakia provided Ukraine with the S-300 anti-aircraft missile defense systems. The Czech Republic sent T-72s, which began service in 1973. You see, Eastern European countries have been more than happy to offload their old equipment to Ukraine and in exchange get newer models from the West. Now, it is America's turn, it seems. Let me tell you exactly how old these planes are. MiG-31 interceptors took the maiden flight back in 1975. It was the first Soviet fighter aircraft to have true look down and shoot down capability. The MiG-27 fighter bombers also entered frontline service in 1975. They were designed specifically for ground attack missions. As for the MiG-29 fighters, they were designed for gaining air superiority in the Soviet Union in the early 1970s. Initially, it was only an air fighter, but eventually it became a multi-role aircraft capable of precise attacks on the ground targets. All these aircraft date back to the 1970s. So, of what use really are they in this day and age? The suggestion is that the armed forces of Ukraine would disassemble them for spare parts or basically use the obsolete airframes as decoys at airfields. But is that really the answer? Russia, on the other hand, is deploying modern combat aircraft. What chance does Ukraine's aging fleet stand against that? And how are more Soviet-era aircraft going to help? After mass-producing COVID-19 vaccines throughout the pandemic, the pharmaceutical giant AstraZeneca has made an alarming admission. For the first time, it has admitted that its vaccines can cause a rare side effect. It is called TTS, thrombosis with thrombocytopenia syndrome. People suffering from TTS, can develop blood clots and a low blood platelet count. There are at least 52 people, in fact, who have filed cases against AstraZeneca, linking its COVID-19 vaccines with TTS. Victims and their relatives are seeking damages worth up to $125 million. In documents submitted to the UK High Court with regard to these cases, AstraZeneca said, quote unquote, it is admitted that the AstraZeneca vaccine can, in very rare cases, cause thrombosis with thrombocytopenia syndrome. The causal mechanism is not known, quote unquote. In a little over a year, airlines from India have placed orders for at least 1,220 planes, 1,220 planes. Just last week, Indigo placed an order for 30 Airbus A350s. These are wide-body planes. They are mostly used for long-haul flights. Indigo has ordered 30 of these planes. In addition to that, Indigo also purchased the rights for 70 Airbus A350s, meaning if Indigo needs these 70 planes in the future, Airbus should be in a position to provide them. In June 2023, Indigo placed the order for 500 Airbus A320 planes. This was the largest ever single aircraft purchase deal for Airbus. In fact, in its press release in June, Indigo mentioned how it also, quote, has previous orders which are yet to be delivered. This is for around 180 planes. In 2023, Air India also placed an order for 250 Airbus planes. Orders were also placed for Boeing jets by Air India and Akasa, taking the total to 1,220. Now, this number is basically indicative of India's aviation boom. And the question is, what is stopping Airbus from assembling in India? Now, what do we mean by assemble? The plane, as you see it, is not built at once or for that matter in one place. The engine is flown in from one part of the world, for example. The body is made elsewhere. The door comes in from somewhere else. The wings from another factory, the seats, so on and so forth. Finally, they are all put together in an assembly belt. These are huge facilities. They employ thousands of people. In Canada, where Airbus assembles its A220 family single-aisle aircraft, the company employs 4,000 people. It has also created around 23,000 indirectly sustained jobs. On its own website, Airbus claims that the average wage of Airbus Canada's employees dedicated to the A220 program in Quebec is 87% higher than the average salary for all industries in Quebec. A PwC study for Airbus Canada mentions that the economic impact of the A220 program on Canada is $40 billion over 20 years. $40 billion. Airlines in India have ordered 850 Airbus jets in less than 2 years. Each of these planes costs over $100 million. The value of the total order, you calculate, and then tell me why Airbus should not give back a portion of this business to India. I will tell you why Airbus must assemble in India. Number one, Airbus is slated to get more business from India in the coming years. By 2030, India is expected to have 220 airports, 1,500 planes, 42.5 crore annual passengers, domestic and international. Today, more airlines from India are looking to fly non-stop to Europe, Australia, the US. More airlines are looking to connect every city and town of India, because what you have in India is a growing middle class. It no longer sees flight travel as a luxury, for example, rather as essential, a necessity, which explains why Airbus today is sitting on a mix of orders. Indigo is looking for wide-bodied planes. Air India has placed orders for narrow-bodied A321neo, A320neo, A320neo, wide-bodied A350-900s, A350-1000s. Again, what is stopping Airbus from riding this very wave? Number two, stakeholders are already excited to be a part of India's growth story. The A350 planes that Airbus has ordered, they will be powered by Rolls-Royce's engines. The latter's chief customer officer, Evan McDonald, has recently said that India is an important market and its future promises to be exciting. Point number three, Airbus is already making helicopters and military transport planes in India. Airbus has signed a deal, in fact, with the Tata Group. The two will be making the H-125 civilian helicopter. Tata and Airbus have also already agreed to build C-295 military transport aircraft in India. So India has assembling experience and Airbus understands the potential. So again, what is stopping them from opening another assembly line? What is stopping Airbus from generating jobs in India? Airbus says the company is increasing its headcount in India. The CEO of Airbus recently said that the company will have 5,000 employees in India by 2025. But also said, and I'm quoting here, actually, we are putting final assembly lines, but not commercial aircraft, unquote. The question is, why not? Earlier this year, India's Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal said that Airbus and Boeing will, quote-unquote, at some stage have to consider setting up final assembly lines in India. And he is right, it's high time. In October 2022, the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi was at the foundation ceremony of the Tata Airbus C-295 aircraft manufacturing facility in Vadodara. Prime Minister Modi said India would soon be manufacturing big passenger jets in India. In March last year, India's Civil Aviation Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia was asked if time has come for Airbus to set up assembly plants in India. He said, and I'm quoting, absolutely, with a capital A. The time is perfect. India has a great manufacturing ecosystem. India has skilled labor. India also has the world's best engineers. What's more, the math is just right. Experts tell us that an assembly facility can put together anything between 5 to 20 planes a month. Let's consider 10 to be on the safer side. 10 planes a month means 120 a year. India alone is placing orders for 800 Airbus jets. And it will need more in the coming years. Assembling in India not just helps Airbus save on the labor costs, but also deliver faster. I'll explain this. As per Airbus's order book, it has 8,626 aircraft it needs to deliver. This is as per the orders placed till March 2024. Indigo's recent order, by the way, was after that. So add a minimum of plus 30 to that number. The previous order was for 500 A320 planes. These are assembled in Europe. In France, to be more specific, France is facing supply chain issues. It is no secret. This is being widely reported. There is shortage of plane seats, chips, raw materials, labor. A320 planes are also assembled in Germany, but there too, you have a supply chain crisis. There is a war being fought in Europe. Businesses are facing the consequences of COVID-19 and geopolitical instability. There is also a facility in China's Tianjin, and it is from here that Airbus delivers to Asian airlines. But just how reliable is China? How safe is it to do business with China? Companies are moving out of China. They are making in India. It does not help Airbus to be an exception. On its website, Airbus says the sun never sets on Airbus's aircraft assembly lines. But for that to really be true, Airbus must make India its 6th point of assembly. Indian economy is better placed than all of the 5 countries Airbus is assembling in. France, Germany, China, the US, Canada. What's more, India is self-sufficient. An assembly point here will not have to depend on quality seats from outside. India manufacturers can make them. India has good relations with all of the Asian countries Airbus supplies to. Airbus also has some of its biggest clients in Asia: Cathay Pacific, Thai Airways, Air Asia, Singapore Airlines, also comparatively smaller airlines like Biman Bangladesh, Garuda. Assembling in India helps cater to Asian airlines. It keeps orders out of the conflict zone and outside problematic China. And what's more, India will be the largest market for aircraft for the next 20 to 25 years. Airbus cannot possibly not have a civilian plane assembly line here.